Representing the business of boxing, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Manager Marty!
Thank you. You're far too kind. Thank you very much.
Representing the business of boxing, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Manager Marty!
Thank you. You're far too kind. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew, welcome to another episode of Roll the Tape podcast with Manager Marty. If you are watching the replay of this live, I welcome you. If you are a member of the Roll the Tape family, supervisor of the Roll the Tape film crew, I welcome you. We need answers. Come on in, grab a plate. I have some food that I want to serve you. Some food for thought. This is the podcast version of what we do here live. Now, we know as of now that there was a hearing. A Senate Commerce Committee held that hearing on federal boxing laws regarding the Muhammad Ali Reform Act, which is now going to be modified as the Muhammad Ali Revival Act. Before we get into the history of the Muhammad Ali Reform Act, let's be clear on one thing. Nick Khan, who is the head of WWE, who has a very extensive career in being an executive, a boss, a CEO, all across the country of the United States and abroad. He has a lengthy experience in television, networking, marketing, sports entertainment, global sports entertainment. And yes, he was present at the hearing. In fact, he was one of the witnesses that testified. And I'm going to play some audio today from both sides of the equation. Oscar De La Hoya was a witness. Nico Walsh Ali was a witness that testified before the committee. And of course, Nick Khan. Make no mistake about Nick Khan's position. Nick Khan, being the CEO of WWE, we know that he is not only a representative, but he's also being influenced by the power brokers from Saudi Arabia. If you go back and look at what's happened to major sports here in America and even in other countries, you will discover that for the past several years, as early as 2017, when Vince McMahon, um, former chairman of WWE, sold his, don't worry about the sound in the background. I hope y'all hear that. Yup. Mm-hmm. I hope that was the police. Yeah, no, I do. I hope that was the police to go ahead and pull up on anybody that's trying to come into the sport of boxing and hurt our professional boxers. I hope that's them. Unfortunately, that's just a joke because this hearing and what happened preceding this hearing, as far as the House of Representatives here in America, who passed the law, which is why it escalated to this hearing. And there's two more other steps, and the deal is sealed. But the protection of the fighters are at stake. Now, back to 2017 with Vince McMahon, who sold interests of the WWE to TKO, which, of course, we know now Dana White with UFC followed suit and did the same thing. We've seen TKO take over golf, soccer, professional wrestling, professional mixed martial arts, and UFC. And now they've been making a play in the sport of boxing. So he has interest, influence, and he's representing the Saudis. And by rights, as he should, that's how he makes his money. That's how he earn a living, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. What's really wrong with that is what they're trying to do. And let me reframe that, what they're going to do. I know that the audience members that are here understand what I'm saying. There's other audience members that are not here that might be watching a replay of this live that might not understand what I'm talking about. And that's okay. That's okay. That's why you're here. We're going to break it down. I'm going to give you the business perspective of all of this, and I promise you I won't hold you too long. But before I play the audio of Nick Khan, who's representing the UBOs, the Saudis, Zuffa Boxing, which we know is a promotion company through a partnership between Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh and the Saudis, who's backing their play with the money. However, before I play Oscar De La Hoya's audio, I want to direct your attention to your screen. I'm going somewhere with this. Stay with me. Don't worry about who's not here. The show must go on. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I don't care about the numbers today. It's about education. We're going to get to all of that later this afternoon. I want to direct your screen to something. Many of you were not here on this platform, on this channel. Go and look at your screen. Go and look at your screen. Go and look at your screen. Many of you were not here. And some of you, maybe a handful of you were here. And I say a handful of you because I just started my podcast, my platform, publishing videos on this channel in the month of October of 2022. Excuse me. But if you look at your screen, go and look at it. You're going to see a screenshot of a thumbnail that I created to market and promote a video that I published on this channel on November the 12th, 2022. Nearly a little over 1 month after I started publishing videos on this channel. I was the first and only content creator in the boxing community on YouTube that first made the connection. And you ain't gonna find this nowhere else. That's why I'm glad y'all here. But if you can't look at your screen, and I know the thumbnail is so corny, it's so cheesy. I think I've gotten better with creating thumbnails, a little bit better, just a tad bit these days, compared to when I first started this channel. As you can see, the thumbnail, it sucks. Yeah, well, who cares? What I do care about is the thumbnail says true or false. The guy who advised Crawford. And in the picture, it has Jay-Z standing next to Terrence Bud Crawford. The title reads, Crawford says he was partners with a mob boss. Some of you that were here, you remember that? Yeah, that's when I only had about 200 subscribers or something. Yeah, or less. I probably had less than 200 subscribers. I can't even remember. But on November the 12th, 2022, I made the connection between Terrence Crawford, his promoter, Bob Arum through Top Rank, who was interested in expanding the horizons of the fighters that he was promoting to kind of give them a global appeal to the Middle East community. And when this live go off, please go back and watch this video right here. Yep, November 12th, 2022, I published it. Crawford says he was partners with a mob boss. That's the title. Go back and watch it in its entirety. It's about 23 minutes and 52 seconds. Go back and watch it. You're going to see how I broke it down. Not only that, but Bob Arum met a guy by the name of Daniel Kinahan, who had deep ties in the Middle East, and he represented professional boxers. He actually helped Tyson Fury as he was co-managing Tyson Fury. He helped Tyson Fury secure a sponsorship deal with MKT Global. You've seen their logo on Tyson Fury's professional boxing gloves, especially when he fought Deontay Wilder. Y'all remember that? Some of you probably didn't remember that. In the second fight, when Tyson Fury fought Deontay Wilder. Go back and do your research. Don't worry about it. I've done my homework like I always do in the screenshot. I actually highlighted the date of this published video and then I circled it in red. What is the significance of me bringing this up? Well, it's not because I want credit. It's not because I want a pat on the back. I don't adorn the praises of men. If you know me, you know that. I'm not here to get accolades. I'm not here for people to say, oh, Manager Marty, you did a great job. You're so awesome. You're the best at what you do on YouTube when it comes to boxing. Absolutely not. I'm laying a foundation to why we're talking about what we're talking about today and how we got here in the sport of professional boxing. I already exposed the conspiracy for the Middle East community, those that have deep pockets, as we know, who had interest in infiltrating the sport of boxing to globalize sports all around the world and put sports in all countries under one control and one dominant organization, under one roof, to be controlled by one entity and one entity alone. And guess what happened? Not only did Daniel Kinahan get charged with multiple international and federal crimes, Daniel Kinahan, at the date of the video that I published on November the 12th, 2022, went on the run. We know that Daniel Kinahan has deep ties as an Irish mob boss, allegedly, at the time of the video that I published in November of 2022. Daniel Kinahan was on the run. And most people didn't even understand what I was saying in the video because it was new information about Daniel Kinahan. Most people didn't know who he was. A lot of people did not know Terrence Crawford was traveling in the Middle East back in 2021 and 2022. And when you go back and watch the video that I published, you will see that I put the evidence out there on the screen. The whole entire video has nothing but evidence substantiating my research. So Daniel Kinahan was on a run for many years. Unfortunately, because of Daniel Kinahan's ties to the Middle East and to their agenda and to professional boxers here in our sport, unfortunately, he began to break ground. And now here we are talking about Zuffa Boxing, Nick Khan, Turkey Al Sheikh, TKO, etc. We know now that Daniel Kinahan, who is the leader of the day-to-day operations of the Kinahan cartel, and he's also a member of the European super cartel, who controlled a third of Europe's cocaine trade. Well, yes, he fled and he was on a run, but he was arrested in Dubai. With that being said, Kinahan will be extradited and he will be going to trial. But even though he broke ground by connecting his relationships with the Middle East community and those who have deep pockets, and his relationship with professional boxers here in our sport, the impact from 4, 5, 6 years ago is being felt today. Because the show must go on. Now, in that, Turkey Al Sheikh, I'm giving you some history now so you can understand what's going on. Turkey Al Sheikh threw a lot of money at professional boxing promoters, giving them the impression initially that he was coming in to give boxing a fresh air. So he threw money at the professional boxing promoters so that he could learn the business. So he hung out with promoters like Oscar De La Hoya. He hung out with promoters like Frank Warren. He hung out with promoters like Eddie Hearn. Two of them are from the UK, and De La Hoya is from America. Oh yeah, he was being buddy buddy with those guys, having private dinners and private meetings with them individually and even collectively. And he's done it with Bob Arum as well. See, his agenda was, unbeknownst to the promoters, he was trying to learn how we do things in the business here, behind the scenes as professional boxing promoters, behind the scenes as professional boxing managers, behind the scenes as professional boxing matchmakers, behind the scenes on how we secure network deals and streaming platform deals, and the structure of how our professional boxers get compensated for rendering their services inside of the professional boxing ring. He was trying to get information and intel on how the sanctioning bodies are associated with world championship titles, how the ranking systems are structured for professional boxers to compete in a system where these opponents are not overmatched when they're ranked in the top 15. He wanted to know what was the structure on sanctioning fees. What were the rules and regulations of the sanctioning bodies? How do you secure sponsorship? How do you build a boxing event from the ground up? And he came in under the guise that he was trying to bring boxing fresh air. And these promoters went by hearsay, like I keep telling y'all to stop doing as boxing fans. These promoters went by hearsay, like I keep telling professional boxers to stop doing. These promoters went by hearsay, like I keep telling professional boxing promoters to stop doing. And no one asked the question that I keep asking for every time I hear someone in boxing mention money, paperwork. They never investigated Turkey Al-Sheikh. Oh, they was eating dinner together, laughing and smiling, thinking that this guy was trying to bring the sport of boxing fresh air. They thought that Turkey Al-Sheikh was going to give them money to allocate those funds to their professional boxers who they were promoting, to give their boxers opportunities with other fighters that will make the sport better and more entertaining. And guess what? After Turkey Al-Sheikh learned all of the nuances and dynamics and elements of how boxing really work in the professional realm behind the scenes, guess what Turkey Al-Sheikh did? He picked up the phone and called somebody that everybody he's connected to in the Middle East and Saudi Arabia have a relationship with, who's doing business with, who sold his company to them, and now he's a mere employee for UFC. I'm talking about Dana White, y'all. He picked up the phone and called Dana and said, Dana, the same way we made an appeal to you for your company, the same way we made an appeal to Vince McMahon and his company, in America, now we're ready now. Oh, we're ready now to make the same play and make an appeal to the stakeholders in professional boxing. And I believe somewhere in between that conversation, somewhere in between the dialogue between him and Dana White said, I don't like none of them promoters anyway. The way we structure our business over here at the UFC, where we underpay our competitors, when we underpay our athletes, I'm jealous because professional boxers make way more than the UFC fighters, and they get paid a lot of money over there in boxing. I don't like them anyway. I believe that. Why am I bringing that up? Because if you look at what Dana White and Turki Al-Sheikh is doing today, they're not coming in to the sport of boxing to bring boxing fresh air. No. They're coming into boxing to create their own organization within the entire organization of the sport of professional boxing. And they're using the same company that made an appeal to Vince McMahon and WWE, the same company that made an appeal to Dana White in the UFC. They're using that same company, TKO, to be the parent company that's going to organize another entity known as Zuffa Boxing Promotions. And guess what? They did just that. After Turki Al-Sheikh learned everything he needed to learn. Oh, it was so fun when he helped Terrence Crawford secure a fight with Israel Madrimov. And they did their first show in Los Angeles, California. Y'all remember that? Don't forget. I'm laying the history now. Stay with me. This might not be a very popular topic, but it's important now. It's time for me to talk about it now. Right? Everybody was happy. I mean, Turki Al-Sheikh was giving away cars at the event. Drove the event so long, the event was ended at almost nearly 2 o'clock in the morning here in America. They doing car giveaways. I ain't seen a black man win a car yet. but they made sure one of theirs won it. Man, it was a major event, but it wasn't under Zufa Boxing. No. They had to come in and say, we want to do events in the Riyadh area. Yeah, in Saudi Arabia. That was just our first fight in America, in LA. But y'all know for the past year and a half, we've been doing Riyadh season cards. They was making an appeal for professional boxers to get paid more money by competing out of the country and becoming entertainment for their audience. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's good business. Because everybody thought in the beginning that the agenda was to bring boxing fresh air, to become a part of a system that's open, free market in the sport of boxing, where anyone with any business acumen and money behind them can come in and do business, because the world of professional boxing is free enterprise. We thought that they were just going to come in and just be promoters. That's all. Isn't that how it was advertised? When the Riyadh season cards was coming, I heard a lot of content creators giving Turki Al-Sheikh all this praise. Oh, we getting the fights we want. No. I'm not criticizing my counterparts. I respect what they do, because I do some of the same things they do with publishing content, and it's hard, y'all. to do what we do. But where I'm getting at is even content creators in the boxing community was under the same guise. They were under the same appeal, talking about how many fights that Turkey and them is throwing on. And oh, it's so good for the sport of boxing. Oh, we love what Turkey is doing. We're getting the fights we want to see. Even though, let's keep it real, and I've done videos on this, we got to keep it real. And y'all heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. We know for sure, and let's keep it real now. There's only one fight that I can name off the top of my head that Turkey Al-Sheikh in the Riyadh season put on that I could say we want to see that fight. And that's Tyson Fury versus Usyk. You name another fight where I hear fans say, we want to see this fight. This the fight we really, 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 really want to see right here. Name one. Where it was a fight that we all, even if we don't agree with each other's perspective and opinion here in boxing, as particularly in the boxing community on YouTube, name a fight. Name one that happened here in America that you said, that's a fight that I really want to see right there. That's the fight that the whole world was waiting for right there. Name one. Name one. I dare you to say Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford. Because in the very beginning, we was not talking about Terrence Crawford fighting no Canelo Alvarez. Was the media asking him for it 2 years before the fight happened? Yes. Was people talking about it? Yes. But that's not the fight we all were clamoring for at the beginning, was it? No, it wasn't. Let me tell you the fight. It was Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence in the rematch. Come on now. Let's remember now. Don't forget. Don't forget now. But the reason why I'm bringing that up is not to say that Turkey and them didn't do some form of good business, because they did. The Riyadh season did some good business. They did. The reason why I'm bringing it up is the same people, including the boxing promoters, including some content creators, including some boxing fans. I remember the same people that praised Turkey, that praised Riyadh season, them same people are now saying, oh man, Zuffa boxing ain't good. They're the same people that's saying, man, this what they're trying to do, and they're trying to build UBO. They're trying to build a system, a structure where UBOs, United Boxing Organizations, can just come in and take over the sport. And now they want to control the ranking system. And now they want to control the sanctioning bodies and how they issue their own world titles, eliminating the sanctioning bodies. Now they want to come in and they want to control the sponsorship. They want to come in and they want to control the licensing fees. And then they want to come in and then what they want to create their own system where the fighters will have to only wear their apparel when they're providing their services inside the ring as a professional boxer. They can only wear Zufa apparel. They can't even walk to the ring with their own choice of ring entrance music. Like we're so accustomed to see, man, look, they hurting the sport. Now, every single promoter, good God from Zion, I'm going to break this thing down. Every single promoter that went to dinner with Turkey Al-Sheikh a couple years ago, every promoter that thought that he was coming in to give boxing a fresh air, every promoter that sat down and ate steak and lobster with him and was laughing with him and was taking all of the money that he was in charge of over that fund that's over there. Y'all know that fund, the PIF. I've been telling y'all about that. But anyway, oh yeah, they were happy. Oh, we're going to get our fighters paid. Our fighters can make more money during a Riyadh season fight. They can make more money being on a Turkey Al-Sheikh card through Riyadh season because we're going to take 30% of their purse because we're giving them the authorization to fight on another promoter's card. Y'all remember that? I've been broke the business down to you. But the point of me bringing that up, those same promoters that thought Turkey Al-Sheikh was coming in just as a regular promoter to be competition, In a world of the professional sports of boxing, free enterprise, they thought that he was just coming alongside to learn the business from them to compete with them. Oh no. Oh, that not what his agenda was. No. His agenda was the agenda of the Saudi Arabians. And that is to make sports global in the world and make it all bow down to one entity under one roof. They're trying to take over the world of sports. Not just in America, not just in the UK, not just in Canada. I'm talking all around the world. And they started with Daniel Kinahan being a plant. And I told y'all that in November 12th, 2022, when I connected the relationship between Terrence Bud Crawford, Tyson Fury, and Daniel Kinahan. And then, of course, we've learned about sports washing. After my video came out, not only did that happen, but within 6 months of the video that's on your screen right now, go and look at your screen that I published, you started to hear whispers about sports washing and professional soccer, sports washing and professional golf. You start hearing about that, didn't you? International commerce. You start hearing about it, right? And now we're talking about a takeover. Not that they want to come in and just be competitors with the other promotion companies. No, that's not what Zuffa Boxing is about. But you know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Let's hear what Oscar De La Hoya said. We're going to play what he said when the Senate Commerce Committee held a hearing on the Muhammad Ali Reform Act issue. And watch how eloquently Oscar De La Hoya break this down. We're going to let Nick Khan speak too. I'm going to play a little excerpt from Nick Khan. But watch how Oscar De La Hoya broke it down. Just watch. Listen. I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.
Members of the committee, thank you very much for this opportunity today. My name is Oscar De La Hoya. I'm a U.S. Olympic gold medalist, a 6th division, 11-time world champion, and now run Golden Boy Promotions. I care deeply about boxing and more importantly about the fighters who step into the ring and risk their lives for our entertainment. I'm here because I strongly believe the proposed changes to the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act take us in the wrong direction. Today, you will hear many different perspectives, some that may want to discredit the decades-long work the sports stakeholders have already done to create a safe sport that puts fighters first and creates a free marketplace for fighters to negotiate the best deals for their families and for their personal legacies. I grew up in East LA with very little. Boxing was my way out. When I won the Olympic gold at 18 years old, I had promoters coming at me from every direction. My family and I didn't have access to legal advice. I signed the first contract put in front of me without fully understanding it. It didn't take long to realize I had been taken advantage of. That experience is not unique. Many fighters enter this sport young, trusting, and without resources. And once they are locked into the wrong deal, it is very difficult to get out. That is exactly why the Ali Act exists. I had the opportunity to work with Senator John McCain on this. As a national hero, a prisoner of war, and someone who loved boxing as a former Golden Glove fighter, he understood the risks fighters take and the need to protect them. The Ali Act reflects that commitment to fairness and to protecting fighters from being taken advantage of. Passed in 2000, the Ali Act addresses real problems, including conflicts of interest, lack of transparency, and the exploitation of fighters. It creates a system designed to protect fighters and preserve a fair, open marketplace. Those protections still matter today. This principal change of the proposed amendment allows a promoter to create an entity that serves as both promoter and governing body, a so-called unified boxing organization. This mirrors the existing MMA model and creates a closed system controlling rankings, titles, and access to opportunity. Under this structure, as long as the UBO complies with its own internal rules, it would not violate the Muhammad Ali Boxing Reform Act. Meanwhile, traditional promoters like myself would still be required to comply with full financial disclosures and reporting requirements. In other words, one system operates under transparency and accountability, while the UBOs do not. This is a fundamental shift in power that, if changed, would put corporate profits first, fighters second. We should be clear about who benefits from this. These changes align directly with what Zuffa Boxing and its leadership at TKO Group Holdings have already said they intend to build in boxing, a model similar to the UFC. And we already know what that model looks like, and it does not work for the fighters. The UFC and its parent company agreed to a $375 million antitrust settlement after fighters accused them of suppressing wages and restricting competition. At the same time, Zuffa Boxing is fully funded by the Saudis. We've already seen how that kind of funding reshaped another sport through Live Golf. We should be honest about what is happening here. That was sports washing, a clear effort to use sports to reshape reputation. Now, players who were drawn in by the money are trying to come back to the PGA Tour since the league will lose $5 billion in funding. This should serve as a warning. Transparency is just as critical. In current Zuffa contracts, fighters are locked into rigid earning structures with little to no ability to negotiate. The promoter controls all major revenue streams, including media rights, ticket sales, and sponsorships, while fighters are limited to guaranteed purses and discretionary bonuses, with only narrow participation in upside revenue. As an independent contractor, fighters won't have leverage when one system controls all opportunities. Under current law, fighters already have the right to see the financials behind every event they headline, giving them a fair opportunity to negotiate their compensation. I also want to address safety. The proposed changes suggest improved protections, but boxing already has strong safeguards in place and existing protections, including health insurance for injuries and life insurance for fighters' families. Commissions and promoters ensure fighters are medically cleared and cover related costs. If this proposal is truly about protecting fighters, why are MMA athletes not included at all? They compete in a similar dangerous sport, yet they are completely excluded. That raises serious concerns about whether it's truly about protection or about restructuring control of boxing. Fighters deserve real protection and real opportunity, not have to fight the system as well.
All right, those were the words of Oscar De La Hoya. The last piece that he actually said was, "This fails the boxer, and none of this is in an effort or attempt to benefit the professional boxer," is because that's how Nick Khan and everyone else over there is advertising it. I want to break down what Oscar De La Hoya said. He said a lot, and it was a lot to process and even digest. And I wanted to break it down before we play an excerpt of Nick Khan's audio. But before I do that, we have Coach. I'm trying to see who is this? Coach Eddie. Coach Eddie, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning, brother. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm good. I don't want to interrupt your cook or whatever. I just want to chime in whenever you allow me to, whenever you feel like it's a good time.
No, the floor is yours, brother.
Okay. Well, I did have I did watch both gentlemen, I guess, opening statement. I didn't watch the entire thing. And both gentlemen had great points. Just like it would just seem like a legal proceeding somewhat, kind of like a defense attorney and a prosecutor. That's kind of how it came across to me, that Khan was prosecuting boxing and the sanctioning bodies, and he had evidence, in my opinion. Had things you can point to, things that we have mentioned on different platforms, even on this platform, with the with the sanctioning bodies and how they move things, and the ranking system, and how there's inconsistencies when it comes to these sanctioning bodies. So I mean, he even brought up the example of Terrence Crawford going to 168, which was a money fight. You know, don't get me wrong. People maybe wanted to see it, maybe not. We didn't ask for it, but it happened. It was a money fight, but at the same time, I have a hard time with being a former boxer myself and being a participant in the sport of a guy, not just Terrence Crawford, but we've seen this with many guys, can come from another weight class, skip over 2 entire weight classes and go immediately to the front of the line and get a shot at all the belts. And in the meanwhile, it's been guys at that same weight division who've been there for years, putting in work. But the sanctioning bodies, all of them allow this. Not just the WBC, WBA, WBO, IBF, they all allow this, what I call jumping up the line. So what's the point of having a ranking system where we can allow a guy, just call it the star status or what he accomplished at a lower weight class, to go ahead and jump straight into the front of the line and get a shot at all the titles? I just want to say that, and I want to know what your opinion was on that question.
Oh man, I appreciate your input, Coach Eddie. I actually think that's a good point. I think that it wouldn't be naturally fair for a professional boxer to be in the ranking system. Let's just use the top 10. I know you have to be in the top 15 before being eligible, but let's say the top 10. Let's say the top 5. And you're about 1 or 2 fights away as a professional boxer from getting a shot at the title. And then someone from a lower weight class can come right up and say, hey, I want to be able to compete for that title. But on the flip side of that coin, because the sport of boxing is free enterprise, and I keep saying this over and over again, it's my slogan, good representation is priceless. And that's really what it boils down to. In fact, not only does that concept boils down to it in the sport of boxing, free enterprise, that concept boils down to everything that we do in free enterprise, or the market of free enterprise, and entertainment alone, in professional sports and professional acting, you name it. But there's another place where what you just said happens, not only in the professional world of entertainment, but also the legal system, because it's free enterprise. I'm not saying that I agree with the structure of how that can happen, but I'm also not naive to forget about the fact that in America, that concept of free enterprise, it works all across the board in everything that we do here in America, because we are a capitalist country. What I mean by that is this: if you look at the court of law, a person can be dead innocent of a crime that they're being charged with. And they may have, let's say, a public defender to represent them on their behalf. And you might have another person who might be guilty of the crime that they're being charged with, but because they have a lot of financial resources and or resources in general, as far as their status, they could pay for representation without taxation, by the way, but representation to fight their case. And guess what? They could go home and walk free because of the concept of free enterprise. And I think that in that sense, that's not fair. In the sense that you're describing, that's not fair. But because that flip side of that coin, We have that free enterprise where now it depends on your status. It depends on your resources. It depends on your representation. Now it makes the scales uneven in the sport of boxing when we're talking about sanctioning bodies and stuff, and then even in the court of law, and of course in other places here in America. I think that concept works in so many different areas. And of course, it has happened and it continues to happen in the sport of boxing. My thing is, on the flip side of that coin, that it is happening in boxing, I would rather the whole TKO group and their representation to stop coming out using that as the premise, as if their whole entire agenda and objective is to do something that's going to benefit the boxer. In other words, is okay, y'all bringing it up to show, well, that's an issue. That's something that, we can poke a hole in that's happening in boxing, but not giving an alternative for that. Because even though that is true, what you're saying, Coach Eddie, and I firmly agree with you that that's happening. Zufa Boxing and any other entity that's going to be under this UBO that Nick Khan is representing, and the Saudis, they're not coming in to say, hey, these are the alternatives that we're coming along with that's going to benefit the boxer. No, they're coming in with alternative that's going to benefit them and their shareholders. And it's going to hurt the boxer. That's the only issue I have with that part. I parked the school bus. You still there, Coach Eddie?
Yes, I'm still here. Everything you said, I 100% agree with. I think, because I did listen to what Nick Khan said. If correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like he was saying that he didn't want to change anything with the Ali Act, just wanted to add to it or give another option.
Yeah, I want to play that. That's
yeah. Go ahead.
That's a good point because that's a good point because that is what he said. And that's exactly the excerpt I'm gonna play.
Yes, sir.
You let it right into. If you can mute your phone. This is Nick Khan, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew. And I was actually going to play it after me and Coach Eddie talked, but I'm going to play it now since Coach Eddie brought it up. This is Nick Khan, and this is one of the things that he said that kind of sparked my attention because he said a lot. Oscar De La Hoya said a lot. Walsh, all those guys up there, they all four of those guys said, a lot, and they answered the questions. But this is what sparked my attention. Well, what Nick Khan said. Roll the tape.
A little bit. Larry Holmes and then Mike Tyson. If I said to most Americans today, who's the heavyweight champ? No one would know the answer to that question. That's because of the state of the sport and these different sanctioning bodies. And by the way, in terms of competition, all we're asking for is an option for fighters. We're not saying to get rid of anything. If they like the current system, sign up with these sanctioning bodies and promoters. If you think we're a better option, sign up with us and see how it works out for you. Either we'll succeed or we'll fail. We're the startup. We're the outsider. Let's see what we can do. A little bit. Larry Holmes and then Mike Tyson. If I said to most Americans today, who's the heavyweight champ? No one would know the answer to that question. That's because of the state of the sport and these different sanctioning bodies. And by the way, in terms of competition, all we're asking for is an option for fighters. We're not saying to get rid of anything. If they like the current system, sign up with these sanctioning bodies and promoters. If you think we're a better option, sign up with us and see how it works out for you. Either we'll succeed or we'll fail. We're the startup.
Those were the words of Nick Khan, and I had to play it twice because it was so short. I wanted to play it twice so that no one, can misinterpret or miss what he said. Coach Eddie, are you still there? Coach Eddie, you still there, Coach Eddie?
Give me 1 second, brother.
Okay. Well, those were the words of Nick Khan. Those were the words of Nick Khan. And he's actually right. I mean, look, you have a choice as a professional boxer. You have a choice. You could stay with the promoters of the sport of boxing today and the structure of boxing today with regards to the sanctioning bodies, the ranking system, and all of those things. Or you can go alongside of Zuffa boxing and the alternative that they're offering. The problem I have with what Nick Khan said, which is what struck me and sparked my attention, is because even though Nick Khan just said all of those things, and I told you what he said was true, you do have an option to go over there.
Yes, sir. I'm back, manager.
Okay, I got you. The
Yes.
thing that sparked my attention was, yeah, he's right. You have an alternative. You can go over to Zuffa boxing. It's the language in their contract. It's their actual agenda. That is what bothers me. Yeah, it's an alternative to go from what we are accustomed to here as professional boxers in our sport, and or if you don't agree with that structure, or if you want to get out of that, society of what you're accustomed to seeing and having to endure because of the rules and regulations of the sanctioning bodies, we have an alternative for you over here. As if that's alternative is better, because that's what he's advertising. Nick Khan is advertising that. He's speaking on behalf as he's representing the Saudis and his interests and TKO, right? So I don't expect him to say anything different, but what he did say was true, that there is an option. I'm going to park the school bus right here, and then I'm going to expound on what I meant, but I wanted to get your take since you brought up Nick Khan, Coach Eddie, while you're here.
Well, what I'm saying is, I want to back up a little bit. Oscar De La Hoya is talking about signing the contract when he was young and being taken advantage of. Now he's in it. I find it kind of hypocritical or ironic that he's in a legal battle with one of his fighters right now, who feels as though he's been done wrong. Same thing with Canelo Alvarez. Had to sue Oscar De La Hoya because he felt like he was being done wrong. So to me, that's kind of ironic in the kettle calling the pot black, in my opinion. But the next thing I want to say is that, to me personally, boxing has so many black eyes and stains on it that it doesn't have a leg to stand on or throw a rock at somebody else. Like you mentioned earlier, this being the United States of America and being a capitalist society, coming in a free enterprise, a free market. This is simply competition. That's what the United States is all about. And the fighters have a chance to go the conventional route or go the Zufa route. Now, as an independent contractor, I know that I can't be the president of the company, the top echelon. I can't be in that top 1%. So for me, it may be a better option to go the Zufa route, because I'll never be on the status of a Devin Haney or Jerron Boots Ennis or a Shakur or, an upper echelon fighter. I'll never get there. So going that route may not be the best for me. I'm going to start going that route. The Zufa route will allow me to get a steady paycheck, to get benefits, and to put food on my table. Because how many boxers, this being a manager, how many fighters are right now working jobs right now because they don't have an opportunity to fight? Some of my buddies, they work at Home Depot, they door dashing, they Uber driving, they doing gig work because they don't have the luxury being signed with have the proper representation or being signed to a company that's going to keep them busy. So they at the mercy of club shows calling them, hey, you want to fight this guy, you want to fight that guy. And a lot of times it's not the best situation. You don't get to pick and choose when you're the B side. You don't get to say, hey, you don't get to dictate anything when you're the B side. They say, hey, can you be ready in 2 weeks? They call you up on short notice. You've been in the boxing game a long time, and you know what I'm talking about. So a lot of those guys that are not on that level, Zuffa boxing allows them an opportunity to make finance and feed their family. I mean, we got top guys who don't fight but every 6-8 months. And of course, they're making millions of dollars, so it doesn't matter. But I think Zuffa is a viable option for some fighters. I think it works for some fighters.
Mhm. And it might. You said that Zuffa boxing offer benefits. What benefits were you referring to?
I think Nick Khan said they offer a health insurance.
Nick Khan is
I
a
think that's
liar.
what it's
I
okay.
heard
Well, he
what he
may be a
said.
lie, but that's what
He's
I'm
lying.
just going off what he said.
I won't say he's a liar. I'm gonna retract that. I don't know if he's a liar or not.
Right.
A liar is someone who repeatedly lies. I know when he say that, he is lying because,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why. And I made this point before in previous videos, including the one that I did on Devin Haney, which I'm going to bring up at a later time. When I say Devin Haney, I'm talking about I predicted 3 weeks ago that he would go over there to sign with Zufa boxing. But in any event, boxers are independent contractors, irregardless of who they're signed with, whether they're signed to a promoter or not, including Zuffa Boxing. And what that means is here in the United States of America, according to the Internal Revenue Code, and I'm saying the Internal Revenue Code for those of us that may not be aware of it, the language. I was a certified tax practitioner, so I know the Internal Revenue Code, and of course, it's modified every year, certain aspects of it, but the concept still remains the same. That independent contractors, they are the employer and the employee at the same time, and it doesn't matter what industry you represent. But as an independent contractor, no company that's compensating you for services rendered have the obligation or the legal requirement to provide health insurance coverage, which is why their structure of their business or entity or company is so that when they come out as a company, they may pay their internal employees because they're internal employees, and I'm just going to call it W-2 employees for lack of better terms. But in that, they don't have to provide those benefits to an independent contractor because their structure is not set up and designed for that. It helps them save a lot of money in insurance premiums. And that's why their structure is the way it is. For an example, rideshare companies like Lyft or Uber, they are structured that way as a corporation so that everyone internally, those employees that are internal, they may receive a salary, they may receive orientation, they may receive training, they may receive health benefits because the structure of their organization is that for the employees. But for independent contractors are not employees of the actual company or entity, right? So Nick Khan saying that is a lie. That right there, I know for a fact is a lie. And it's not because it's the sport of boxing. It's it's according to the Internal Revenue Code here in America and how the IRS laid out the difference between being an independent contractor, a business owner, and an employee. All three have their own benefits, and all three have their cons, meaning pro and cons when it comes to money. So Nick Khan is a liar when it comes to that. I'm not saying he's a liar as a man, but that right there, he is lying before the Senate committee. I also want to point out this because someone asked me in the live chat, what's in the contract, right? Talking about Zufa. Well, let's make it clear. And I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks. A professional boxer, yeah, can say, I don't want to deal with the, sanctioning bodies here, as far as like, the boxing structure. I don't want to deal with the sanctioning bodies. Okay, that's great. You have an alternative to get signed to Zufa. Cool. Here's the problem. What happens if the boxer wants certain opportunities? So they go over to Zufa. But guess what? Zufa going to tell them, you can't come over here and sign with us with that sanctioning body's belt. So it's one thing to say, hey, we want to join in with free enterprise. We're not trying to change anything. That's Nick Khan. We're not trying to modify anything. Everything can stay the same. We're trying to just add on to protect and help the fighter. That's a lie too. because they're trying to structure their own organization. I'll give you an example. So let's say we know the sanctioning bodies obviously have to adhere to their rules and regulations through the ranking system, right? To be able to rank these fighters for them to get an opportunity to contend and even win the world championship title. Now, over there at Zuffa, in Zuffa, they are trying to create their own ranking system. They're trying to create their own sanctioning body. Now, what is the problem with that? The problem with that is what we heard Oscar De La Hoya say, is that they're trying to be both. They're trying to be the promoter, Zuffa Boxing, and they're trying to be the sanctioning body at the same time. That in itself is a conflict of interest. That concept in itself, if you are the promoter and you're controlling the sanction and you're controlling the ranking system and you're controlling the actual belt and who gets it, all for your personal gain, that doesn't benefit the fighter. The fighter, that independent contractor, that professional boxer is in a lose-lose situation every time you slice that pie up. It's very simple. The Zuffa belt has no credibility. Now, when we talk about opportunities that Zuffa Boxing give, I'm just trying to figure out what opportunities will Zuffa Boxing promotion give the fighters that sign to them, because no other promoter outside of Zuffa Boxing, let's name the major ones. Let's say TGB Promotions, who represent the banner of PBC. Let's say Oscar De La Hoya, who represents the banner of Golden Boy Promotions. Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotion. Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Promotions. Top Rank, and Bob Arum and his stepson Todd Duboff. None of them are interested in doing any kind of business with Dana White or anybody else that's over there at Zuffa. So then my question becomes, how are we going to get the fights that we really want to see? How are the fighters going to go in and earn the maximum amount of dollars to generate enough revenue to come to the table and say, look, I'm a fighter. This other person is a fighter. We know fighting each other will generate millions and millions of dollars, not just for the stakeholders, the shareholders, the promoters, but also for the fighters. If we can't fight each other, that's what I mean. For example, they just signed Richardson Hitchens. He had to vacate that IBF title. The same problem that Opataya was going through with the IBF title. It's the same thing. It's nothing different. And then he's moving up to 147, this kid, Richardson. So now he's over there at Zuffa. He's not going to be able to fight none of the top welterweights. I'm talking about outside of Zuffa. So how he going to fight for how Richardson Hitchens is going to fight Devin Haney when Devin Haney right now is the WBO welterweight champion of the world? How unless Devin vacate that title and go to Zuffa. But let's say he don't. Okay, how is Richardson? He's moving up to 147. How is he going to fight Ryan Garcia, who's the WBC welterweight champion of the world, and he's being promoted by Oscar De La Hoya, who's sitting at the Senate committee hearing right now, opposing them? So that's the issue that I'm having, that those fighters that sign over there with Zuffa, they're going to be confined. They're put in a box. There is no free market for them. They're stuck where they are. They have to worry about competing for a Zuffa belt that has no credibility. None of the sponsorship money can go to the fighter. That's another problem I have. They can't even wear their own legitimate boxing trunks with sponsorship advertisement logos being printed on them. Why? Because all of the sponsorship money will benefit the company, the shareholders. It's not going to benefit the fighter like it does now. Whereas a professional boxing manager, I can go and make an appeal to a company to say, hey, I have a product here, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to give you all my sales pitch, but the point is you all understand my point. The point is, though, I'm able, free market, free enterprise. I'm able to secure a deal with a sponsor on behalf of my client for the best interest of the client making money In between fights, like you brought up, certain fighters have day jobs, and I've been saying that since I've been on YouTube. But if the fighters have sponsorship money that can basically offset their expenses in between fights, that's an awesome thing. Instead of them depending on um, uh, getting compensated per fight, basically like living paycheck to paycheck, like majority of American citizens, right? But the sponsorship money can help them in between those fights financially. But when you go over to Zufa, there is no sponsorship opportunity where you can say, hey, this fighter is attached to Manager Marty Healthcare, because guess what? Everything that they wear over there has to say Zufa. And guess who benefit from any person purchasing Zufa apparel online? Not the fighter. So that's the part that I am saying that hurts the fighter going over there. Is Nick Khan right saying it's an alternative? Absolutely, he is right. It is an alternative. But is the alternative more beneficial for the professional boxer than it is now? The sanctioning body is Zuffa Boxing because they have their own belt. The sanctioning body is Zuffa Boxing because they have their own ranking system. The promoter is Zuffa Boxing because they're the ones putting on the events, and they're the ones through matchmakers putting fights together, putting on shows, and giving these boxers an opportunity to make money. They're being all three at the same time. That in itself, I just mentioned three problems right there for a professional boxer. Just those three alone hurts the fighters, because now the promoter is telling you how you're ranked. In the sport of boxing, in our history over here outside of Zuffa Boxing and TKO, the promoter doesn't control the ranking system. And guess what? Every time the promotion had control over the ranking system, and I say control, I mean influence, guess what? They always got in trouble. Let me take you back to a little bit of history. And this is not to disparage, the IBF, right? And what happened with Bobby Lee Sr., right? But we got to keep it real. Bobby Lee Sr. influenced a conspiracy between himself, Bob Arum, Cedric Kushner, Don King, right? Where because the IBF, sanctioning body, controlled the ranking system, the promoter would go and say, hey, I want my fighter, Manager Marty, to be ranked in your organization. And they had to do it not just for a small fee, because that's 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 the cost of business. All the promoters pay a fee. All of them. I'm talking about legally, by the way. All of them pay a fee. I just want everybody to be educated on that. I'm not talking about that fee. That's a fee for all the promoters to have to pay, just like the fighters have to pay a fee. Let's be clear. Everybody talk about the fighters having to pay a sanctioning fee, but don't forget the promoter pays way more in fees than the fighter. But needless to say, I'm talking about above and beyond the fees that are set in the rules and regulations of the sanctioning body. The promoters had to basically cough up more money outside of the realm of the rules and regulations. So now it becomes a conspiracy, and they all got in trouble for it, especially Bob Arum. So I'm just saying that was the way that they did business back then, and it was wrong, and it hurt the fighters. Now we don't have those problems. There is no promoter who has more influence over a sanctioning body. Everything that I've seen thus far since that situation happened, where Bobby Lee Sr. was charged and convicted federally for that, everyone else seemed like they've been on an up and up thus far. And so in that, you have a separate entity that's making the decision on the ranking system according to their rules and regulations outside of the promoter. At Zufa, they are the sanctioning body, creating the ranking system, controlling the ranking system, and being the promoter at the same time. That in itself is wrong. Not only that, but over here, you have most promoters who do have a life insurance policy on the fighters, but 95% of them, and I've been in the business, like you said, Coach Eddie, for a little minute, most of the life insurance policies, if God forbid, a fighter do die while they're competing in the ring or rendering services, the beneficiary is their next of kin. Over at Zuffa Boxing, yeah, they're gonna they everybody that's signed over there to them, they have a life insurance policy on them, and in the event that they fatally get wounded or die, obviously from injuries sustained in a boxing match, Zuffa Boxing, they are the beneficiaries, not the fighter, not the fighter's next to kin. So I just wanted to point it out because Lucky McKinnell, shout out to Lucky, asked me what are the contract details of Zuffa. Just the fact that their structure alone, controlling the rankings, the sanction, the belt, and the fighter as the promoter, that in itself is wrong. It's a conflict of interest. Not only that, when we say Zuffa Boxing is better, I mean, we haven't seen multiple um, Zuffa Boxing cards with the same fighter. In other words, they're signing certain fighters, but all of the fighters that they signed thus far that we know of, like Ife Ajaba, Obataya, Conor Ben, they all fought once. And guess what? Zuffa Boxing has had way more than 6 cards as we speak right now. Now, most people didn't know about it. And they do have a deal with Paramount Plus. But the problem is they're not fighting in arenas. We know that's an issue right in itself. They're not fighting in stadiums. They're not fighting in venues that hold 10,000 plus. Where over here, outside of the Zuffa boxing structure, professional boxers can fight in arenas, in venues 5,000 plus, 10,000 plus, even 20,000 plus, and they still will have the protection to be able to negotiate, of course, with fair representation, for the best opportunities based on ticket sales, based on we call it live gate, ticket sales, based on streaming, based on viewership, all of those different things. Now, of course, everybody don't have the opportunities to do that. I mean, I'm not going to act like, every professional boxer will have that opportunity, because every boxer, like you said, Coach Eddie, they don't have that status. You know what I mean? They don't have that appeal. They don't have that marketability, and they don't draw that much revenue to make those type of demands or dictate those terms. That's business. But at the same time, at least they have the opportunity to have good representation, to be able to go on their behalf and negotiate the best terms for them. Over at Zuffa Boxing, those fighters don't have that. And this is no disrespect to the managers like Keith Connolly. He's a good manager, but he walking most of his fighters over there because he gonna get a piece of the cut. And like I said, at the end of the day, from what I know about Zuffa, it hurts the boxers. And it's going to hurt them. And we have no evidence right now. I talk, me, Coach Eddie, I talk about paperwork. So I don't really want to hear fighters say, "Oh, we signed Conor Ben for a $15 million deal for one fight," but yet Conor Ben was on the undercard of Tyson Fury. He ain't even headlining. And who did he fight? Regis Prograis. He's not going to draw in not even $1 million for that fight. But that's just hearsay.
But man, let me interject something really quick, if you don't mind. So if you remember, this is kind of a different situation, but you remember the Contender Series when they had Sergio Mora, Ishe Smith, and Cornelius Bunders, K9. They was able to come over and cross over and become legitimate world champions. So what I'm thinking, like I said, a lot of the people that are over there at Zuffa Boxing are guys that we never heard of. There's nothing wrong with not ever being heard of, because they need a platform too. Guys who are kind of on the way out, 36, 37 years old, that the sanctioning bodies really not checking for. And not only that, the networks are not there like we had anymore with HBO, Showtime. Everybody went over to the Zone network. So the opportunities are less. Now, some people, I understand what you're saying. It does limit your potential. But a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush. So if you're a boxer and this is what you do for a living, Zufa is a bird in hand. The other one is just 2 in the bush. Yeah, I may have an opportunity to climb to the rankings right now, But we seen guys that been mandatories for years not get a title shot. We seen guys lose fights and get the fight for a title the very next fight. Ryan Garcia, now they talking about Teofimo Lopez doing the same thing. So if I'm a boxer and I'm looking at the sanctioning bodies, I'm like, yo, I've been in this division for 4 or 5 years. They hadn't got a title shot. I've been the mandatory for 2 years, hadn't got a title shot. People keep jumping in front of me. And then somebody comes over and offers me more money than I ever seen before, and more money than I'm ever going to get, and an opportunity to work. Because most fighters, all they want to do is work. Because you don't fight, you're not making any money. So everything you're saying is 100%. I'm not disputing anything that you're saying. You have valid points and valid concerns, but at the same time, all I'm saying is Zufa does work for a certain type of fighter, because the opportunities are limited, because there's more fighters than there are fight dates, which means somebody's going to be unemployed. If you're not fighting as a boxer, that is your primary source of income. If you're not fighting, you are now unemployed. So this is another, the deal may be bad, but it may be good for some people. If that person makes a conscious decision that everything you just mentioned and it's transparent, he knows these are the terms of this contract, and he signed that contract willingly, knowing the terms of the contract, and he's satisfied with what he's making, I don't see any problem with it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. If he's cool, if any fighter go over there and they cool with that, God bless them. The thing is, though, when you use the word transparency, you said it the best. You just said transparency. They're not going to get any transparency of what's coming in and what's going out, which is what we saw happen with Devin Haney recently. Devin Haney was receiving a lot of transparency when he was supposedly negotiating with TGB Promotions and the PBC banner to fight Rolly Romero. They're not going to get that over there, Zufa. And also, I have to challenge you on this. How do we know that they're going to get paid more money? I mean, I've heard you say that twice already. How do we? I don't think they're going to get paid more. I mean, how can the promoter? This is why I say I don't believe they're going to be paid more money than the fighters over here. If they're restricted from receiving sponsorship money, that's number one. Number two, they're restricted from the transparency element, which is what the Muhammad Ali Reform Act protects for fighters. If they're not going to receive transparency as far as the revenue that their fight is generating as a main event headline, how do they know whether or not they're being fully compensated or fairly compensated? They will never know, because there is no transparency over there in Zufa boxing. And not only that, but when you look at what's already established in the current Muhammad Ali Reform Act, the promoter and the manager, or the promoter and the sanctioning body, they are separate entities. The promoter can't be the manager at the same time, representing the interests of their company and representing the interests of the fighter at the same time. It's actually a violation of the current Muhammad Ali Reform Act. But once again, as I pointed out a few minutes ago, over there at Zufa Boxing and what they're trying to do, that's a direct violation of the current Muhammad Ali Reform Act. So even though I hear Nick Khan saying out of his mouth, everything with the Muhammad Ali Reform Act can stay the same, we're not trying to modify, we're not trying to change anything, we're just trying to add to it to give boxers another opportunity. Well, that sounds cute for somebody that don't know the business, like the Senate committee. They don't know nothing about boxing. No disrespect to Ted Cruz and that lady and the other guy that was talking, but at the same time, they are going to be the promoter. They are going to be the sanctioning body, all at the same time. That's a direct violation of the prohibition of what's going on now with the Muhammad Ali Reform Act today. So we don't know how much those fighters are going to get paid, but I can assure you, if they don't have any transparency of how much money that they're generating, meaning revenue from them being the headline, they don't know if they're being fairly compensated. Number two, they're fighting in small venues, right? That's number two. That's important. They're fighting in small venues. So now we're talking about live gate ticket sales that's being lower than fighting in a 10,000, 20,000 seat venue. That's important. So at some point, that alone is going to cause, these promoters to start losing money at some point. And third, which is the biggest point of it all, is they're all going to be locked into a guaranteed contract. Not a guaranteed purse for this particular event when they are rendering services. No, I'm talking about a guaranteed contract, meaning irregardless of who they compete against. If it's not for a belt, and most of the people they're going to be competing against are already signed within Zuffa Boxing, so they're going to make money off of both fighters. That's good business. They all do that everywhere. But the point that I'm really getting at is they're locked into a guaranteed contract. Every time they fight for a certain amount of years or a certain amount of fights within that year, that's their compensation, irregardless. There is no leverage.
But I asked you a question though. So
you did? I didn't hear. What was the question?
I like to ask you a question.
Two questions,
okay. Actually,
yes.
So, do you feel that Zuffa boxing should not have any place in boxing? Would you like for them to go away? Because, like I said, when I mentioned making more money than what they ever made, some guys do not fight. So, if you're not fighting, you're not making any money. If you are fighting, it's just like me I'm an hourly employee. So I agreed to work for a certain amount per hour. That's my agreement. Now, if my company turns around, they made $1 billion, I don't get to renegotiate my terms just because they made $1 billion. This is what I agreed to. If it being a free market, I can leave this job. I go start my own business and I can try to make more money. So all I'm saying is everything you're saying, I'm not disputing anything that you're saying. They're saying anything that you're saying is wrong. The only point that I'm trying to make and drive home is that this business model works for some fighters, because I'm seeing firsthand some of the guys that I grew up with, some of the guys that I've helped train, they're fighting on Team Combat League right now. These guys were once good fighters and they have no home. They don't have any promoters calling them to fight. They don't have any shows coming up. So they're doing whatever they can do to make money. We got this better than anybody. We got guys who just basically make a living sparring people. Just go around and camp. That's how they make money, because they're not getting an opportunity to fight. So everything that you're saying is 100% about the transparency. But as a fighter, if I have a chance to make $300,000 a year, I'm cool with that, because I wasn't making anything.
So
I work at Home Depot.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me answer your question. But before I answer it, I wanted to point out a disparity. So you saying that you're willing to go to a company and you read the terms and conditions, and no matter how much the company makes, as long as you're cool with the conversation, you'll sign, and that's fine. But you can't compare that concept to the concept that's already been established in the sport of boxing. That's the difference. You going over to your job or somewhere else to say, hey, they're going to pay me X amount of dollars, and then they might generate this money. I'm cool with that, and that's great. But in boxing, when you have a fighter who have the protection of the Muhammad Ali Reform Act that will say, hey, we're going to allow you to negotiate. We're going to allow you to exploit the positive benefits of free enterprise. It don't have to be you locked into this. And basically you're saying, hey, if I can make 300,000, none of them over at Zuffa Boxing are gonna make 300,000. None of them. And I know you're saying they're gonna fight more often, but I'm just trying to figure out, can y'all name me 3 fighters that signed to Zuffa Boxing right now? And they have a lot of fighters that some people don't know about. Like you talked about some of the guys in the Team Combat League. You know what I mean? They got fighters that signed over there that most fans don't know about them. So I'm just trying to figure out if somebody can tell me, name 3 fighters over at Zuffa Boxing that's fought more than 3 times already, more than twice right now since they've been signed to Zufa. Everybody's on BoxRec, so we all can. It's all public record at this point. If somebody know the answer, please let me know, because I don't know. Now, Richardson, he don't count. He just signed. Conor Ben, he don't count. He just got finished fighting. But I'm just saying, anybody else, they're names that are more recognizable than some of the other fighters that we don't know about. So I hear you saying that they're going to be fighting more. But name some fighters that fought more than twice already since they've been signed to Zufa. Because when I hear fighting more, then now we're talking about the same thing that other people was arguing with me about PBC. You know, when Rich Glacier came up here telling me, oh, these fighters get paid once a year. They only fight once a year. And then you hear other content creators repeating what he said that don't know the business of boxing, say, oh, they only fight once a year. But like I keep pointing out, there's a budget that the promoters work with the network. It's very simple. Not only that, but Zuffa Boxing doing the same thing. And Nick Khan made a reference to this when he talks about, you know, the promoters having the network cut them a check, you know, and that's for the event per se. And he made a comparison to how the WWE does business. And see, that's another issue I had with you. We can't keep comparing how other business structures are with boxing. I mean, yeah, he's talking about the WWE. The WWE is a global brand. You can't compare how he's getting a streaming platform network deals to boxing, because he made a reference to that. He said we made an appeal to put on a certain amount of shows throughout several years when it comes to Netflix, opposed to how boxing can go to a platform, a streaming platform, and get paid a licensing fee for just this particular event. It's apples and oranges. And just because this might work for this company doesn't mean that it's going to work for that company, and vice versa. You know, it's all about the structure of the business. We can't make a lot of comparisons. Each individual entity has its own pros and cons. And I'm telling you right now that I don't know not one fighter that's signed to Zuffa Boxing that, since they've been active, that has fought more than two times already. Not saying that they haven't. I'm just saying I don't know. So my thing is, how can we project that these fighters are going to be more active? We don't know that. I would love to see Conor Ben again. He just fought. I'd love to see him fight 2 more times. I'd love to see Opataya fight 2 more times this year. I would like to see those guys over there that signed to Zufa. Since we're saying they're gonna make more money overall, I want to see them in fights. And we got to keep it real and be honest. Based on who they fight is what's going to give the company credibility and also generate revenue and generate interest. If Conor Ben keep fighting guys that's over the hill, like you know, no disrespect to Regis Prograis, but guys in his situation where he's getting a phone call after he's sitting on the couch for a few months. If those are the fights that they're going to be putting on, they're going to lose interest from the fans that's buying into this. They're going to lose interest at some point. You got to have competitive fights. It's cool to you know, have promoters, you know, pad the record, as we used to say back in the day, build the fighter up. And that's the biggest complaint that we have in the sport now, in the sport of boxing. There's not a lot of competitive fights where they say, quote unquote, the best won't fight the best. So, you know, if somebody can show me that these fighters are going to be more active within a year, all of them that signed over there, and they're going to make a certain amount of money, then I'm like, okay, I'm all for it. But if they're not, that's even worse than all the other inconsistencies and the violations of the Muhammad Ali Reform Act that I just mentioned. Lucky
Hey Martin.
McKinnon's, you're here. What's up, man?
Hey, I was sitting here listening to you as far as the Zuffa boxing. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you were saying name a fighter that has fought more than 1 time or 2 times this year.
Yeah, more than 2 times this year with Zufa, since they've been signed to Zufa. Yeah, because I don't know him. I'm not sure.
Well, that wouldn't be possible because they only been around for 10 months. And if they building their roster, how is that possible? Everything that they're doing is starting from the beginning right now. So within
Well,
time, they will be able to fight 2 to 3 times a year. But right now, they only been around for nine going on 10 months.
so the fighters that signed to Zufa 9 months ago, how many times did they fight then? How about if I ask that question?
Well, they still building their roster to generate fights. That's why they're still signing people. They want to generate fights. That's why they building their roster.
Right. But their roster has been built within the last 9 months, though. There's fighters that signed with them from the opening, right from the jump. And in 10 months, I can't find a fighter that fought twice in the last 10 months.
Well, we
that
don't
doesn't
know
mean
that
it didn't
because you
happen.
don't know their names.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if they fought or not. That's why I'm asking y'all. Because here's the great thing about that. Thank you. That proves my point. And that's really where I was getting at, look. I don't know their names. Most of us don't know their names. And because we don't know their names, they are not going to be generating a lot of money per fight. So even if somebody come to me and say, well, Manager Marty, there's a guy named Manager Marty that fought in an 8-round fight 3 times in the past 10 months under Zufa. But he generates $4,000 per fight. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. So we're hearing that within 10 months, this fighter, I'm just using this as a reference. We're hearing that this fighter generated $12,000 within the past 10 months. That's what I'm hearing when I hear that. Because you don't know their name. They don't have name recognition.
Marty, you work, right?
What does that have to do with it?
I just want to make something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So cool. You work.
Yes.
Where you work at, do you believe there's another company that could pay more or has more money to offer you?
Of course, that's possible. Yes.
Okay, cool. So with that being said, do you go to work all the time, or do you sit back and wait for that one job that pays more? Do you sit back and wait for that phone call? Or you gonna go to work? Are you gonna go to work every day for a job that's giving you availability? Or you gonna sit back and wait for that phone call for that big paying company? Which one you gonna do?
Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. If I'm already employed and there's no other opportunities available, obviously the most obvious thing to do is stay where I'm at. However,
you want to be active, right?
I'm gonna be active. Yeah, I'm gonna be active. But here's the thing. I don't care how much the other company's paying, because that's what we talk. See, that's what we getting at with the pay part. See, we keep getting this projection that Zuffa Boxing is paying more than the other competitors. And we have no evidence of that. But since you brought it up, I'm gonna tell you what I would do. Even if the competitor is paying more than where I am, if they're telling me that there's no career advancement opportunity, if there are no health insurance benefits, if everything that I do is dictated by their rules and regulation without any union representation to give me the job security I need with the job that I'm going to be doing, no matter how much they're paying. If I'm lacking in job security, no career advancement opportunities, and on top of that, I'm not going to be receiving health benefits, I don't care how much they talking about paying me. I'm staying exactly where I am. Because I'm with a company that they paying good money. Might not be as much as the other companies offering, but they paying good money. There's career advancement opportunities for me to move up the ladder, to make more money, right? To gain more experience, and also pad my resume. But not only that, but they're offering me health insurance and other benefits. I will stay right where I'm at because it's not always about the dollar amount. But at Zuffa Boxing, there is no evidence right now that we can say that they're paying way more money than, or not even just paying, but the fighters over there are going to make more money than the other fighters. The proof of that is the fact that those fighters at Zuffa Boxing are restricted from getting sponsorship deals. That alone scares me as a boxing manager. That alone, because this is why it scares me as a boxing manager. Because if my professional boxer that I represent go over to a promotion company, let's use Zuffa Boxing. If I usher this fighter to fight at Zuffa Boxing, and Zuffa Boxing is telling me, the manager, hey, your fighter cannot receive any sponsorship money because we are restricting your fighter from having sponsorship opportunities, then guess who the cost is going to fall back on? The manager. Why? Because managers have a fiduciary obligation to every professional boxer they manage. So in that, The sponsorship money helps my business out. It protects my bottom line. I'm talking about me as the manager now. It helps my business scale opposed to me losing because now those financial responsibilities will be on me. So the 10, the 15, the 20, the 25, the 30, or the maximum amount here in America is 33 and the third percent that I'm going to receive in compensation through the fighter's purse. I'm still going to be in the red. That's not good business. And so that's why I'm saying what I'm saying when we talk about that sponsorship part. That's a major component. You look at Tank Davis, Floyd Mayweather, Devin Haney, Danny Garcia, you name any of the top fighters, Deontay Wilder, all of them that held the title, right? And some of them don't have titles yet, but most of them that have a title, a belt, let me tell you something. They have opportunity to get sponsorship money, and they do. And if I don't see that element included in the contract and the language of the paperwork over there for Zufa, I have a problem with that because they are receiving sponsorship money. That's how they're able to put these shows on. But you mean to tell me a fighter has to go over there, not receive any sponsorship money, and have to wear a uniform? Only W-2 employees wear uniforms. Independent contractors don't wear no uniform. When it comes to the company that's paying them, they might use it like, you might have a landscaping business. They may wear uniforms because it's their company, they're independent contractors. And you might have a company like, let's say, Manager Marty LLC that will hire the landscaping company to do all of, the field work outside, the grass and everything at my property. But at the same time, they don't have to wear Manager Marty LLC shirts when they work because they're independent contractors. So the point that I'm making is that's the same concept everywhere else in America. If you are an independent contractor, you don't have to wear the uniform of the actual company paying you because you're the employer and you're the employee. But over at Zuffa Boxing, they don't allow their professional boxers that they sign to wear other brands. That's
Hey,
funny to me.
Marty, I want to know, do they allow something else? Do they allow their fighters to choose when and when they're not going to fight?
No
And
promoter choose, no fighter choose that under any promotion. Absolutely
well,
not.
well, you said that some guys be ducking.
Some
Well,
guys what?
not saying you, but everybody say that some guys is ducking fights, or
Hmm.
even like boots. They say some guys are ducking boots.
Hmm.
That's a decision that's being made to duck
Hmm.
boots. I'm asking you, do they allow that in Zufa?
What part in particular? I'm sorry. What do they?
Because reason why
What
I'm
part?
saying that, because reason why I'm asking is because in UFC you get a lot of big fights more than boxing. You see more big names going against big names than in boxing. So it seemed like they don't have the power to choose who they're going to fight. They when it's on the table, it's on the table. You can't
Mhm.
choose. No, I'm not going to fight him. He's too good. I'd rather get a tune-up. You can't choose that. I don't believe so. But I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking.
Can you duck at Zufa? I
Yeah,
guess that's what you're saying. Can you
that's pretty
can
much
you
what I'm
duck?
asking.
Well, here's the thing. You can't duck at Zufa. Wanna know why? Because Zufa controls the rankings. Zufa controls the belt. Zufa controls the sanction, and Zufa controls how they pay you. And guess what? The only people you can be able to fight is Zufa fighters. So how you going to duck somebody at Zufa when everything
Yeah,
is Zufa? In other words, is the promoter is promoting the fighter that's signed to Zufa, fighter A, and fighter B is also signed to Zufa because no other promoter outside of Zufa, they're not going to be able to do business with Zufa. This is why. Because Zufa will have to pay a sanctioning fee on behalf of their fighter. Let's say if Hitchens go up in weight, like they said he did, he vacated the IBF, and he's going up in weight, 147. Let's say he try to go fight. Let's forget Devin Haney. Let's use Ryan Garcia. Hitchens go up in weight 147 to fight Ryan Garcia for the WBC world title. Zufa not going for that. That's the reason why these guys vacating when they go over there. They don't honor the sanctioning bodies here that we know of, the four major sanctions here because they don't want to pay the fee. They don't want to pay that fee. And now guess what happens to Hitchens? He's robbed of the opportunity to bet on himself, to become a world champion and capture that title against Ryan Garcia. So I wouldn't say they have an opportunity to duck other fighters. They won't even have the opportunity to fight those other fighters. Everybody they're going to be fighting is within Zufa. Now, I'm not mad at everybody they're going to be fighting is in Zufa. I'm not mad at that because all the promoters do that. Fight within the promotion. I'm not talking about that. The problem I have is there's no competition there. Who's more competitive?
And that's part of building your roster. That's part of building a roster.
So basically, what you're telling me is right now, Richardson Hitchens is going to fight Conor Ben at 147.
No,
that's
Richardson
possible.
Hitchens is going to fight Devin Haney.
When?
That's possible.
How? Well, yeah, because Devin might go over there.
Yeah, and Devin reported last night that the deal was almost done against him and Richardson Hitchens.
Because he's going to sign with Zufa?
Yeah.
That's great. But guess what? Zufa's still going to have to pay the sanctioning fee. So does Devin Haney. And I'm saying pay it. I'm saying pay it. All three of them going to have to pay it. Devin, Richardson, and Zufa. They're the promoter. They're going to be promoting that event. If they're going to be promoting it, they got to pay.
All right. So if you're not with Zufa, you with the other side of the street, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So
unless you're a free agent.
On the other side of the street, it can't be that good. Because in my eyes, you got Kid Austin that been a mandatory for Tank Davis for 2 years. They can't even push the button over there.
You said what?
You got Kid Austin that been a mandatory for Tank Davis for 2 years. And they can't push that button over there to make that fight happen. But I believe Zufa would have pushed that button a long time ago.
Well, where was Zufa? Where they at? Because we had Riyadh season.
No, I'm just saying, if them two fighters were signed with them, that fight would already happen.
Well, how but how do we know that?
Because the history of UFC, big names versus big names, it always happened.
Well,
it always been happening.
Well, Conor Ben signed with Zufa now, and he fought Regis, and there ain't no big name versus big name, Lucky.
Yeah, that. But that's part of the roster buildup. They don't have the roster.
They don't have a roster.
It only been 10 months. You cannot look at them as like PBC or anywhere else.
I agree. No, I agree
because they have not been around that long.
No, I agree with you. But here's the great thing, though, Lucky, and this is to your point. But Riyadh season, look at all the fights that they did within 10 months. Do you know why they were able to do all those cards? I'm gonna give you the answer. They were able to do all of those cards. I'm talking about when Riyadh first came out, when Turki Al-Sheikh came out with the whole Riyadh season. The only reason why they were able to put all of those cards together in a matter of, like we said, 10 months or a year, is because they were able to work with other promoters. All of those cards that we saw from the Riyadh season, that wasn't all under one umbrella. That was Eddie Hearn fighting this guy. Bob Arum fighting this guy. The promoters came together with that. That's the difference.
That's cool. That's cool. Now
that's not going to happen with Zufa. That's not going to happen with Zufa. Lucky.
Let's think about that. Let's think about what you just said.
I'm gonna say not yet. It has potential to happen though.
With Riyadh season,
when none of the promoters. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let y'all talk. Go ahead.
With Riyadh season, and you saying how all the fights took place. One more time, Marty. Say that one more time, because I want to hear.
With Zufa boxing.
Yeah.
None of the promoters are going to do business with Dana White and them guys over there. They don't like each other. It's never going to happen, from what I see. Or Oscar De La Hoya wouldn't have been sitting up at the Senate on that table testifying. But anyway, It is what it is. But let's check it out. So Zufa boxers are going to naturally fight other Zufa boxers. That's just basic. When you have guys that have opportunities at Zufa boxing to fight other promoters' fighters, is not going to happen. And the only reason why we saw Riyadh jump so much to success when it comes down to promoting multiple fights back to back within the 10-month time span. I'm only using 10 months or a year because I'm comparing it to Zufa boxing been out for 10 months. It's because all of the promoters worked together hand in hand and allowed their fighters that they were promoting to fight each other. That's the difference between what Turkey was doing with Riyadh season and Zufa boxing, because they're not working with all the promoters. That's what I'm trying to say. They basically said, look, Turkey, I'll let you have Shakur Stevenson for a licensing fee to put him on your card. And that's how he fought Josh Padley. Now, of course, he was originally scheduled, talking about Shakur, to fight the guy you just named, Kid Austin. So now you got De La Hoya's fighter, Kid Austin, and then you got Kid Austin taking on Eddie Hearn's fighter, Shakur Stevenson. So now the promoters are coming together, putting something together. You had Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. They put that Riyadh season together, which is how Big Bang Zhang fought Deontay Wilder. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the promoters work together and all of their fighting, and we was able to see some competitive fights because of that. But in the sense of Zuffa being out now for 10 months, we haven't seen nothing competitive from them guys yet. Even if they don't have the roster to build up right now, Lucky, they should be working with other promoters to help build their roster, help build their fighter. That's how the business of boxing is set up. You might not have all the guys in your stable, all the ladies in your stable as a promoter. So now you say, look, well, let me shop him over there. Let me shop her over there. But since none of the promoters are going to be interested in working with Zuffa, Zuffa fighters going to fight Zuffa fighters, and it's going to hurt them. That's just my opinion.
I got more fighters going over there just because they stand active.
But you keep saying staying active. Who's active? Give me some names. Who?
It's just the history of UFC.
Huh? Somebody, would you say, Coach Eddie? UFC?
I said I heard that Devin Haney's rumored to be going over there.
Yeah, I know. I heard Devin Haney say he gonna do all this stuff. We heard Bill Haney say is a 10-guy list, and the first guy on that list was Tank Davis, even though we know Tank Davis is 135 and Devin is 147. I don't believe nothing that Haney say until I see it. So I hear it. I heard Devin Haney say it was a great deal. Him fighting Rolly Romero. It's a great deal. They read the language in the contract. It was a great offer. That's what Devin Haney said on the Ring podcast. It was a great offer. I heard Devin Haney say that. And guess what happened? Nothing. So I don't believe what Devin and Bill say. I mean, if they want to sign a Zufa, God bless those guys. Because nobody else gonna make money off of those guys. You heard what Bill Haney said. I put the video out 3 weeks ago. Bill Haney said it the best. He said, look, we'll go over there and do business with Turkey because you don't have to worry about ticket sales. And you don't have to worry about putting behinds in seats. You don't have to worry about pay-per-view buys. Basically, what he's saying is they're used to getting a guaranteed check. In other words, is they don't want to, benefit from free enterprise. They don't want to use leverage to negotiate because they don't know how to. So in his case, if he want to go to Zufa, that might work for him. Cool. But I'm just saying in general, if he want to go to Zufa, that's fine. But I'm just saying in general, we cannot say right now definitively that these fighters are going to be more active or make more money. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, they're too premature. They only been in business for 10 months. You can't say that and then say at the same time, well, these fighters are going to be more active. Because in 10 months, when Riyadh season first came out, those fighters were more active. Why? Because they did business with other promoters. Something that's not going to happen with Zufa. That's my point.
But at the same time, I could say one of the reasons that the Riyadh season did do so well, that's because the boxing world was in shambles, man. Showtime when I'd have been in HBO, everybody was kind of like on a sinking ship, so to speak. So they came in at a great time to seize the moment. There's opportunity there. And they seized that moment, and now everybody got on board. Now that everybody's on board, yeah, you looking like you're on the island right now. You got a PBC island, you got a Zufa island. But even PBC did lend some of their fighters over to the Riyadh season because they got a cut of the proceeds. So that's why they did it. They worked together. So Al Heyman, popular to a contrary belief that he did work with Turki Al-Sheikh in that capacity. I'm thinking that Turki Al-Sheikh being involved, Turki Al-Sheikh has his hands in both pots right now, the Zufa pot and the Riyadh pot. I believe that if a fight is so big and so significant that it can generate enough money, I think there could be something in that contract because I don't think a star, a guy like a Devin Haney or a big time guy is going to be signing a similar contract to Joe Blow, who just came off a Team Combat League. I believe their contract is going to be structured differently. It's going to be two different structures because of the tier fighter that you're getting. You know, it's just like it's just like
Eddie,
a franchise player. A franchise player is not going to sign the same type of contract that the 13th guy or the 12th guy that's sitting on the bench. Those contracts are totally different.
it should be, but coach Eddie, that goes to prove my point. Why would Eddie? Why would Devin Haney, with his status and his caliber and experience, why would he go over there? That's not good business, honestly. Well, I'm talking about with somebody with his accomplishments, with his stature, with his experience. Why would he go over there to be robbed? Because think about it, he's going to be robbed of his independence. The guy's a free agent. Why would he sign a guaranteed contract over there? That's not good business. Now, if he signed for one fight just as a reason to fight Hitchens and that's it, that's good business. Because now he has more leverage as a free agent. But I know for a fact, based on what Bill Haney said, they have no interest in being free agents. They don't even know how to be free agents the right way. Because hey, I'm not knocking them, but the truth is the truth. Somebody of his caliber, Devin Haney, a multi-world champion who has a name, to go over there and sign a guaranteed contract for multiple years, that's not good business. I don't care if it is because now he's what? He's going to go over there and vacate his title now to fight Hitchens, because he's not going to be able to stay over there with that title like that. And guess what? Zufa has made that known. And I also want to say this to you, because you said the ring cards and the Riyadh season and then Zufa, they all under the same umbrella. They're trying to globalize sports like they did with the UFC, professional wrestling, golf, and soccer. And they're trying to do the same thing with boxing. So the ring, those ring cards or the Riyadh season, it's the same. That's all the same thing. It's all under one umbrella.
So you saying this is kind of like something that happens similar in the corporate world, when they promise the employees all these great things, and then next thing you know, you're out of business.
I don't know if that's going to happen. I can't predict the future and say they're going to be out of business. I just know that they want everything under one world government. I can assure you of that. Look at what they've been doing for the last 8 years. And here's the thing I do respect about Zuffa Boxing and the entities that represent them. They're coming out telling you what they're going to do. They're telling you, hey, we're going to be our own sanctioning body. We're going to control this. We're going to control that. We're going to control and create our own ranking system. They're coming out telling you that. And the sad part about it is they're coming out telling us that. And those things that they're coming out telling us are a direct violation of the current Muhammad Ali Reform Act that provide protection and safety to professional boxers. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. Because
I got a question for you, man.
I got you. But as long as this is being pushed the way it's pushed, that Senate committee hearing, to me, from what I heard and what I observed, it was just a formality. Dana White has a personal relationship with the president of the United States of America. Look how fast, and I'm not saying nothing bad about the president of the United States of America. I'm talking about relationships. And he's using and leveraging that. And by right, he should, because he ain't no different than a politician or anyone else in this country that use their status, resources, and relationship to press buttons to make certain things benefit them in legislation. It's no different. So I'm not mad at him for it. But you see what's happening. The House of Representatives quickly approved. And now you got the Senate committee hearing, and we know it's going to hit Congress. And then, of course, the president, and it's game over. And that's the issue that I have with it all. Oh, girl, I'm ready, Coach Eddie. Before I let all of y'all go, we've been on here 2 hours. What was your question again, Coach?
So this is my last question. So which one of these boxing entities, as far as the old way and the Zufa way, resembles, or do they resemble at all like a union? Because like in Georgia, it's a right to work state along with a union. So you can work for a union or you can work for the right to work. And in some states, most labor is union only. So is Zufa Boxing trying to pattern themselves, or maybe make boxing like a fight, like a union, so to speak, where they have basically union employees?
When you say union employees in boxing, what exactly do you mean?
Well, I mean, like having followed a pay structure. Like in the union, you have a a pay structure or a salary or something like that. So let's say you're going to make X amount. If you're this level, you're going to make this amount of money. If you're this level, you're going to make this amount of money. If you're this level, you're going to make this amount of money. So in the construction field, you got apprentices, you got journeymen, you got foremen, then you got general foremen, then you got general superintendents. They all make different pay scales, but they have a pay scale, a set scale.
No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. Because you got to understand, we're talking about boxing. We're not talking about, see, when you bring the concept of union, we're talking about W-2 employees. That's the difference. We're talking about people who have a specific schedule. You have to go to work 40 hours per week, right? And that's the whole point of being unionized. You have representation, but at Zufa, I don't think their structure is everybody's going to get paid 40 hours a week. You're the superintendent, you're the director, I don't think that's the structure. The structure is, if you're using the union as a concept, they want to be the employer and the union at the same time. That's the issue I have. They want to be the ones controlling the ranking system, controlling the pay scale, controlling the sanction, and on top of all of that, they're going to be controlling the rank, the revenue. They control the revenue, they control the rankings, they control the pay scale, they're controlling the sanction itself because they have their own belt. Okay, they're controlling 4 of the major elements involved to be a promotion company at the same time that they're representing the actual boxer. That in itself is a violation of the Muhammad Ali Reform Act that we have in place. That's the whole reason why people, bled, died, sweat over the years to put it in place so that we can separate the fighter from the manager, separate the fighter from the promoter, because the fighter is the independent contractor. Over there, if they're wearing uniforms, if they're following this employer-like structure, but they're still being taxed as an independent contractor, there's something wrong with that. Because here's the key. If you wear a uniform for a company, if you're following the procedures and policies of a company, then you should be offered health benefits and union representation. And I know for a fact that those boxers will not, obviously, legally, it's not even in place like that here in America for them to even benefit from that. So that is the key to all of it. When people show me that these fighters are going to be as active or more active than they would have been with other promoters, and they're going to make more money, and I'm talking about over a great length of time, even if you showed me that, I'm still not going to be impressed. Do you want to know why? Because the fighters are still being put into a box where they cannot market themselves, receive any other compensation in between fights, including sponsorship opportunities. And they're not going to be able to fight for other world titles to generate more revenue and interest and status for themselves because other promoters outside of Zufa are not going to work with them. And that's what's going to hurt boxing. And the people that's complaining about us not getting fights now or not having the best fight the best, you're going to be complaining even more if you're talking about including Zufa. So to answer your question from earlier, and I hope I did, and if I didn't, I'm going to come back to this, your question. It's not that I want them to be obliterated. This is free enterprise. I love business. I love competition, and I think competition is a good thing, especially in a sport like boxing, because it's all about competition. But if the competition is trying to build their own organization within the organization to isolate the fighters away from their own protections, I have a problem with that. No matter how much you talking about, they're going to be active and they're going to be getting money. My interest is for professional boxers. Lucky, are you there? I don't know if Lucky's still there, but Coach Eddie, man, I appreciate you coming up, man. Give us your last 30 seconds before we go, big dog.
Oh man, very good cook, man. I learned a lot
Yeah.
today. It's very informative. Like I say, everything you said was spot on, man. And I'm only thing I'll give you a little pushback on. I do agree there is a place for it, which you did. Go ahead and say there is a place for it, but your concerns were about the fighters. But at the end of the day, there's so many different levels. Like even the club level fighters, it's like they're at a point where they got to sell tickets to even a lot of these guys aren't even getting paid. That's another topic for another conversation. So you got all type of levels, tiers in boxing. So I understand your concern and it is validated, and I agree with about 99% of what you're saying. But I think Zufa is a viable option for a certain fighter if it fits their needs.
Yep.
But brother,
That's
salute
a
to you,
good
man,
point.
and stay blessed, brother.
That's a good point, man. Thank you for coming up, man. I appreciate you too, my brother. All right, y'all. Look, here's the thing. We had a good show. I wasn't expecting to be here for 2, but hey, I appreciate everybody coming out live and living color. Thank y'all so much. Listen, come on back. Come on back in a few hours. Got some interesting things. Clarissa Shields strikes again. It's unfortunate, but she strikes again. And got to break down something that she said. Clarissa Shields, come on back, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to break it down. Clarissa Shields strike again. So here we go. But come on back, 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to break down Clarissa Shields. I thank everybody for coming out. You know me, I'm doing way too much talking nowadays. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.